right, GM fam, happy Friday. It's Cinco de Mayo. CurveUSD has been launched not just once, but three times. So it's an exciting day in the broader DeFi ecosystem. And joining us today to talk about all the amazing developments is someone who joined us previously in Denver for a live Llama Party IRL, which was a really great conversation, but we didn't really get to go into enough depth because there was so many other people. So very excited to finally have Aiham back to have a kind of full deep dive Llama Party. Ahem, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. Thanks so much for coming back. I've been, just all the stuff that you've been doing since you launched Silo Finance has been just fantastic. So really excited to be able to dive into absolutely everything.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We met briefly in Denver. I joined in real life. Had a little bit of a conversation with you, and super excited today to talk more.
Yeah, and at the time you were kind of mentioning some of what was like on the horizon for Silo Finance. Do you want to start with that, like talking about Silo Finance's roadmap?
Yeah, the Curve LP tokens. I think we've talked about it for a long time. Our engineers have been working on actually multiple things. So one of the things, but right now we're kind of focused on Arbitrum,
Mm-hmm.
which by the way, the integrate we can have lending markets for Curve LP tokens on Arbitrum actually, and still the users will benefit from the convex integration.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been basically focusing on Arbitrum, trying to grow our TVL, where we sit like around 16 million right now. I mean, it's just mainly actually kind of driven by organic growth, and we've got, of course, a couple of incentives. So yeah, we've been quite busy, you know.
Yeah.
I've been
So
quite
the
busy.
LP positions, the LP tokens, they can are these only the Arbitrum LP tokens that can be staked on Arbitrum, or
No,
is
not
this
really.
cross chain?
Oh, no. So we will have markets for Ethereum and we'll have markets for Arbitrum, but in the beginning we will start with a couple of markets on Ethereum. So the goal is just to give users a Curve LPs in specific way to leverage up mainly on ETH in the beginning. We'll see. Hopefully soon we'll be able to do Curve USD pools as well once they start kind of mushrooming, which I expect in the once devs are done development basically or testing and stuff like that, which has been a lot of fun
It's
to watch.
it's been so crazy just to watch the whole rollout because the like Mitch basically launched the contracts, and even though there's no UI, some in the very first one, someone just decided, what the heck, I'll put $50,000 into this.
And I am not surprised at all. Right,
I guess I'm not either, but
right.
so Mitch was talking a bit earlier today about the lending cap for the first one is for SFrax ETH is only like 10 million, and he like initially took out a $1 million loan, so it's already 10% full.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like the I haven't, to be honest with you, I'm not an engineer, but I kind of sometimes geek out on code and try to understand it. And I've kind of been looking at the smart contract, the monetary policy, the collateral, and those kind of stuff. I think it's pretty much a great primitive actually to
Yeah,
to
it's
mint stable coins.
yeah, it seems like the documentation for it is a lot stronger than it used to be. Like I noticed a lot of the contracts, like between when I first started looking at them and when they got published, they started explaining all the parameters at the very top, and there's still 100 parameters, so it's really tough to do. And did you even try and crack the white paper?
Not at all. I think that's gonna takes like a weekend for me, which hopefully in the next 2, 3 weekends, I have a lot of things to catch up on the weekend. But have you this yeah, hopefully we'll see an easier way to mint basically, just to just experiment a bit with it.
Yeah, yeah. And you were messaging me earlier, and you said that you were a little disappointed with some of the mechanics of CurveUSD.
No, I was under the impression I thought it was basically because of the lack of visibility around it.
Mm-hmm.
We thought I thought for a second that uh, SS Frax ETH will be the only collateral, which I have a huge, of course, respect to all LSDs and specifically anything that comes from the Frax ecosystem. I consider to be honestly something to trust. But I thought like that would be more of a decentralized collateral in the beginning, because I mean, we all like Curve fans, and I think the community, and we thought like, well, we're dying for to have basically the decentralized stablecoin sector. We wanted more. We all basically all of us wanted just to see Curve or USD kind of like becoming a staple
Right.
alongside LUSD and even yeah, at least for me, I'm also a big fan of liquidity in general, anything decentralized, to be honest with you. And I mean, yeah, so that was like, okay, why? But then talked a bit with you and talked a bit with a couple of actually I even pinged Fiddy as well. I was like, hey, I'm panicking a bit, and he's like, no, 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 this is just it's just basically we're still experimenting. We're still like just the first very first step. So it was like, oh, okay, now I see it. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. I think it's yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like Curve doesn't care about marketing. Curve doesn't pay for marketing, and I think part of what you see with this rollout is symptomatic of some of that, right? Like if this is more of a traditional company, I'd imagine that Mitch would set a date, like we're going to launch on this date. We're going to have our PR team ready to go with all this. We're going to have the first 5 launch pools or something all queued up, and I think it's kind of for his sake, right? Like he still sees this as a decentralized project. So I think he's very much in the mindset that until the DAO is actually like officially voting on these parameters and like these pools are getting incentivized, he's just like essentially in the role of a rogue developer who happened to build some code, is launched some code, is testing it, and once it works good, he's going to hand it over to the DAO. That's kind of my read on where he's at the moment, which is like this is like not even officially like Curve USD, except it happens to have the name. But then like pretty soon it's going to get he's going to transfer all the ownership and it's going to be completely owned by the DAO.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what we didn't know
Right, because
earlier.
he's
I
just
never.
like, should I eat lunch or should I launch? I don't.
Right, right.
He's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yeah,
so
but that's a great. I think I'm really super excited personally.
yeah.
I mean, even in the silo community, like we're like, hey, let's have a market for them, and let's you know for it, and everyone's excited.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hope I'm not dropping too many trade secrets here, because I try not to like leak information. But I think this one's probably pretty safe. I actually think he was trying to launch with Steth and not sfrax.eth. It's just the Oracle wasn't ready in time, so he's just like, oh, okay, whatever, we'll use this. Like I think it really was fairly haphazard how he picked it, but I can't really read his mind, so I don't know. Maybe there's something more to
Right.
it, but I
Yeah,
am
yeah.
curious to
And the
see.
the
Oh,
sfrax ETH is actually resilient Oracle. I've looked at the dual Oracle they have. I chatted a bit with the Frax friends, with Sam and others. It was like, okay, let's understand this, because we wanted to start a market for it as well on Silo. And it was like, okay, that's a custom work. It's pretty nice. So yeah, I understand actually that decision from, I think, from a technical perspective.
yeah. Do you have any Frax Oracle or sorry Frax silos? It's a
We just
crazy
have Frax and
just Frax
FXS,
and
just two,
FXS.
and FXS. Yes,
That's pretty
yes.
good.
Not yet. Yeah, that's pretty good. We wanted to do actually S Frax ETH as well, because I think it's a great collateral, to be honest.
Hmm.
But it would have been it would have to be a custom implementation for us, because there isn't an easy Chainlink feed to grab, or a TWAP, Uniswap v3 TWAP to get.
Hmm.
Would have to be we have to look at their Oracle implementation, because they do one for Frax Land, and they have one, but it's a custom work.
Got it. Got it. Now the I haven't looked into the details to know this. Is it the case that you could use the Curve V2 pool price Oracle or price scale as a
No, no, no.
equivalent function or no?
Not at all. Not at all. They have like a spot prices that can be manipulated. Right
Right.
now, absolutely not. Yeah,
Got it.
you
Yeah.
can't.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, I think the only solutions I've seen that have utilized curve price oracles is using it in conjunction with one of those other ones you mentioned. It's like a sanity check, right? So if one of the oracle's
Yes,
prices is dramatically different. That's like a failsafe, but relying on a curve oracle, my understanding, is a pretty terrible idea.
terrible idea. Exactly. Yeah, because that would have solved the problem for all of us. I think even would solve the problem for the curve people, because now they have to rely for the different like for any collateral to use. Well, I mean, how do you get the price feed? They'll have to rely on Chainlink and the rest of and other oracles,
Mm-hmm.
not the curve pools themselves. I mean, ideally, you would actually use the pools themselves to get the price.
Right, right. Now, so you're talking a bit about like the fracs, like you have a couple of types of fracs on, and you were gonna look at getting S fracs ETH onto Silo. What sort of like risk, or like do you like when you do that process of deciding which assets go in these silos? Like, do you look at these like parameters we're talking about? Like, is it decentralized enough? How decentralized is it, or is it pretty much just up to the community?
It's really up to the community to. We can't look into those things right now. We're not permissionless, fully permissionless. Anyone can deploy a lending market, but you would still have to find an oracle. The two things that we look at just to make sure that when someone deploys a market, we just need to make sure that it's not a rug market.
Great
So
point.
so we'll look. Uh, yeah, well, we look at the price feed actually.
Okay.
So how do you price it? So if you price it in so if you because technically, I mean, you could use any price feed and then rug users. So so if somehow you could get an oracle that reports the price of SFRAX, to $1 million, well, we can, steal everything in the isolated market. Um, but yeah, we look at this and we look at liquidity. I mean, just can we liquidate it? I mean, we have like a backup liquidation engine, and some tokens are not necessarily very liquid,
Mm-hmm.
very difficult to liquidate.
Right. Because so you've been in operation for maybe a year now, longer.
250 days,
250 days, so
155
coming
days.
up on 1 year. So have there been any close calls or kind of any like really harried moments during that time?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
Like USDC
absolutely.
depeg, I'd imagine might be one. Was that a big one?
A nightmare. It was a nightmare. Actually, I can walk you through it a bit.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, our treasury is USDC. That was our basically. Well, what do we do? I mean, do you cash out? I mean, you try to cash out something at least for a couple of months as a runway. I mean, cash out
To a bank,
cash
right?
in a dollar basically to a bank.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like, okay, but I mean, do you trust banks? I mean, that's was like the
Nope.
second question. Can you exactly? Because if you deposit, let's say, well, how do you get, for example, $3 million out of treasury into a bank account that is only FDIC insured up to 250,
Yep.
right? Yeah, we were like looking at that moment, and then that was one of them. The other one was basically uh, if USDC, yeah, so it was just a couple of very very yeah, like actually a couple of days, because we had to wait over the weekend just to see
Right.
if what we can, and
The
then what we
weekend,
can
it's not
do.
it's
And
not gonna be able to transfer to a bank on the weekend anyway.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then yeah, it was very very difficult. I'm not sure how if you were exposed at all, or you panicked a bit, but I assume a lot of people did.
So my panic was sort of the opposite. Like I ended up for some reason, I don't remember why, but I had more tether than USDC at the time. So
uh,
I was like, huh, if this depeg continues, I should actually buy some USDC. Because my calculus was like, either it repegs and I make like a quick 10%, or it collapses, at which point I'm going to be living on the street anyway. So it doesn't matter if I'm holding Tether or USDC in that scenario. Because like
that's actually, yeah.
I'm so on chain at this point. Like it'd be pretty easy to wreck me. Like if Curve disappears tomorrow, um, like pretty much everything I do in DeFi is like in some way 1 to 3 hops away from Curve. So I'd be out in the streets, no doubt about it.
You
Imagine
won't
Gary
be on streets.
Gensler.
Well,
Yeah, Gensler is listening to this like, ah ha ha ha, we figured out how to take down Curve Cap.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He would be celebrating. He would be creating one of those uh, um, taxpayers funded videos.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh man, that would be the
It's
worst.
very corny. Yeah. Yeah. I know he
Um,
has time to do that. Honestly, I'm actually surprised.
yeah,
He has time to record those videos. Yeah.
if I take off my like DeFi maxi hat and just look at it as like an objective citizen hat, like for the job he's trying to do, which I mean, I disagree with like what he's trying to do, right? Like I don't think he should be policing crypto this way. But if your job is to police crypto, um, like he's doing an like basically people's complaints are that he's doing like too good of a job of it, right? Like he's attacking absolutely everybody, which is kind of a refreshing change from a government that tends to like be the opposite, right? Like we have this huge leviathan bureaucracy that doesn't get anything done. So like I try and like say like okay, hats off to him for actually like working hard and getting a lot done, even though I hate what he's doing. Maybe I don't know. Yeah, sucks that he
Yeah.
hired a
Yeah.
competent regulator, Tencent says. Like, it would be much better, I guess, for us if they hired an incompetent one. And I do think that he's incompetent in terms of like he has no like philosophical like purity. He just attacks everything. So I don't like that part. But like it's his job to attack. So yeah, he's a good attack dog.
He's very good, but he's never owned crypto though.
I know. Can you believe that? Like even when he was at
I
MIT
can't
teaching the
actually.
class, like that there is like
It's
frustrating.
like,
Like
yeah, yeah. It's just like get an ETH at probably back then it was $30 or something when he taught that class.
I'll
It's like
bet
get some
he
ETH and play with it a bit.
I'll bet he secretly trades. I'll bet he's like super secretly like some like ultimate degen, and he's just using his day job to take out his competitors or something. Yeah, Tencent says he's
Yeah,
good friends
like,
with Algo. So feel. By the way,
yeah.
Tencent, it's an open conversation, so feel free to join the party that goes for OX Kai. OX Kai points out that if we fork ETH, we could shut Curve finally down. Do you ever think about that? That like if ETH actually forked, which is one of the great promises of blockchains, um, it might successfully fork, but DeFi would essentially only fork to one of the chains, or it would collapse in the fork. Like, isn't that wild?
It is. Yeah, yeah. Were you kind of around the time that the BTC Cash tried to take over BTC?
Oh yeah,
I was actually kind of watching the attack on it, trying to dump BTC, get to the fork. We haven't seen ETH much. I mean, with Ethereum Classic back then, but yeah, that would be actually yes. I'll just end it all.
I mean, it's almost like on some level. So I think the like people throw the knock against Ethereum that it's like they perceive it as less decentralized than Bitcoin, right? And I don't really believe that, but then when I look at things like the amount of influence that USDC and USDT have over the chain, I'm like, okay, I guess like they kind of have a point. Like it's effectively don't want to say centralized because there's like Vitalik doesn't own the masternode, right? Like he can't actually unilaterally dictate. It is up to the whims of the developers and the node operators and the validators and everything. But it is kind of like wild to think that like so far it's just been this like incredible amount of consensus that the Ethereum community has had that has made it like so resistant to forking.
Yeah, and also I just wanted to add to that. Well, first of all, I think that honestly, proof of stake has sort of helped us. I don't know the stats too well on it, but I mean, when you look at Bitcoin, you have like Ant Pool, right? Power Pool. I mean, those are actually big points of centralization for the Bitcoin network.
Agreed. Yeah, 100% agreed. Like, the Bitcoin isn't it like I mean, haven't looked at this in some time, but isn't it like basically three large mining pools essentially control 51% of Bitcoin?
Yes.
So,
And I think maybe all of them are also like in the very near to each other in China,
right.
right? Or at least two of them are.
So it's pretty crazy. No, Tencent.
We'll see. We'll
Yeah, Tencent. You're also with Silo, right?
Yes, sir. Remember, we've had a couple calls here in the Llama Party
Exactly.
together.
This is the first with is Aham your boss? Or you Ahim's
Yeah,
boss?
he's my boss man.
Okay, so this is the first one with your boss
We
being
we we have like we have like
No, just kidding.
we have we have a flat organization. Yeah, we just like really no
Yeah,
bosses. We try to yeah.
I, I will tell you, like, this is probably like one of the most flat level teams I've ever been on. Like, really, I mean, even the new people that just come on, like, you have the ability to affect really a lot of things and make changes where you want to. So it's a great org. I've
So
never felt
so
like Ahem is my boss. He's more of like my coworker and friend.
you know, Tencent has just put together, by the way, this incredible computer, like PC.
Oh
I'm
yeah?
sad that he's not using Mac though, but oh yeah, he's like has a couple of screens and markets, Twitter, stuff like that. He's like building his spaceship right now and
I
ready to take Silo to the next level.
Man, I spent 7 grand on just the computer parts, and the way I did it is actually I aped into Pepe very early on,
No way. You're kidding.
uh, and I should not have sold because I would have like I think I calculated it's close to $500,000 if I hadn't sold.
Oh no.
But but here we are. So
That's pretty
The
wild.
the regret, always pretty wild. And that was just few weeks ago, right?
yeah,
So
no, that
it's
was literally it was basically over the span of I sold it after like 2 days of holding. After it did like a 10x, I put like $800 into it, but.
Okay,
this
so
is just insane. I mean, what?
yeah, I
It's
need
like
someone
half
to
a million
explain.
dollar, like.
I've been trying to find someone who can explain this Pepe thing to me because I have not been paying attention. Is it actually what's causing these crazy gas prices?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, it's not just
And
Pepe, right? I
and
mean,
the forks.
there's like a
Yeah,
hundred. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
like a
yeah.
hundred different meme coins. But I
So
mean, the best way to explain it to you is frog over dogs. That's basically the whole thing.
okay, so okay, so all right. Where did you first hear about Pepe? Like, was like, is this like in some chat room I'm not in, where people were
No,
like,
no. I saw it on crypto Twitter. I saw Hammer shilling it, and I was like, all right, for the memes.
so what is like? It's founded by just a bunch of like anons, right?
I would think so. I honestly
Okay,
didn't do any research.
so
I
no due
literally saw it and I
diligence.
bought it.
You just threw money. Okay.
I
So,
left curved it.
but you know the actually the lesson here. I feel like I'm focused on Silo all the time. I don't have time to kind of look around. But I think the lesson here is whenever this meme coin season starts, just buy like a small amount and immediately lock it for like 30 days. Just do not try to sell and see what happens after 30 days. Because if you get into all of them, I think one or probably one will succeed eventually, or maybe even actually a couple you can definitely. But I'm talking about after a month because only after a month, but probably the only one that will, the resilient one will survive. I think from what I'm seeing, it's actually I wouldn't be surprised if Pepe basically. I wouldn't surprised to see it on the top 10 actually.
Really?
It seems
Yeah.
that it's a huge whale. Oh, absolutely.
It just became bigger than Arbitrum, right? So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah. That's
But
so. Yeah.
yeah, also keep in mind, just because well, I'm before Silo I was doing a lot of trading, but it always happens around the same time of the year. It's right before taxes. There's kind of this meme coin shit going on. So I
Oh.
mean, maybe there's something kind of weird happening here, right, in the background that no one knows about. Like maybe there's some weird taxes or you know
Okay.
trading wash trading, but yeah, so it always happens around this time, right before taxes. Pepe, I'm pretty sure popped off literally on tax day.
Yeah,
Uh,
Interesting.
but I mean, but taxes, but if you think about it, taxes has nothing to do with it because you file your taxes for for let's say 2020, and from January that's a new fiscal year. So right, so
Yeah.
in April, yes, that's deadline, but deadline to pay 2020, not 2023.
Maybe we'll get a
Um,
refund.
yeah,
here you go. That could be actually it. Yes, yes. Yeah, I had to pay. I didn't get a refund, but anyway.
I had to pay a lot, and it drives me crazy because like the government that is trying to kill and trying to kill cryptocurrency and says it has no real value is also taxing me insanely for transactions on something that they see as no value. So it's a bit of a sore subject, but at least I've had a few weeks to calm down from it. Okay,
so are you sold on Pepe? Are you going to get into Pepe?
I'm not yet purchasing, but that's because I'm poor. But here's the question I have.
No.
Are all of us like trying to like LARP too far to the right on the bell curve? Because like Silo's doing brilliant stuff with risk management. Curve is doing some like fairly insane high level mathematics. Do we just need to dumb it down? Because we've both gotten our butts kicked in the past week by a coin that it's just a vanilla ERC20, right? Is there anything special with its construction?
No, I honestly, no.
Well, take it with a grain of salt. Pepe is worth billions of dollars, but how much liquidity does it really have? I can make a coin be worth as much as Ethereum if the liquidity pool is small enough.
Okay, let's do it.
Mitch should actually should issue a stable coin next after that with actually backed by Pepe. That's the best marketing. That's the best. Hopefully he's listening to us right now. That would be the best marketing, and it's just could be actually just fun, right? It's fun.
It would be trivial.
You could get a TWAP.
It would be trivial for anyone to launch a Curve. Curve, like an ETH Pepe pool on Curve. I don't know why someone hasn't done it, to be honest.
Exactly, and then you would use the price feed. Hopefully, one of the devs are listening. You could use a TWAP actually from Uniswap. There is, I think, a 2 million or 3 million, or it was $3 million a pool, but now probably it's much bigger. So you could actually use a TWAP, just set the 30-minute time window, whatever, and then actually launch it. That could actually be fun to launch.
It's like a week.
Maybe we launch it.
I'm based in the US, so I don't dare launch any of these type of things, but.
Like a stable coin? It's a stable coin, but with probably yeah. But actually, it'd be nice.
On your question, though, I think we definitely are steering too far to the right of the curve. I think you see basically all the DeFi degens kind of going from one project to the other, but we don't really gain any market share. Whereas something like Pepe, like that's like normies, right? I mean, we for some reason can't get that audience, so we definitely need to not dumb down the back end, right? But dumb down the way that we present things to people. You have no idea how many times I've tried to explain like the AMM curve, like even just x times y equals k. And if you want to explain even the stable swap formula, good luck, right? That one's ridiculous. Even just the balancer formula, it's like crazy. But yeah, there just needs to be an easier way for people to get into crypto. So yeah, we're missing the rails.
Yeah, I was just looking at the code on screen, which is one of those glaring marketing failures, because I'm sure that the Pepe casts are not like putting code up on screen, but it looks like it's like a fairly like vanilla ERC20 token with like some blacklist capability. So like it's
and a massive roadmap. Like this one, I go after like big things, right?
Is there plans? Do they have a website?
Oh yes, they do. It's just a meme, but yes.
Yeah. Because I mean, at least.
But I've been talking about like. Yeah.
At least Dogecoin, like people did have to like do some proof of work behind it.
Yeah, I think there's a chain. Actually, there's a Pepe chain now.
Exactly.
Someone launched an L1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I guess I'm sold.
I think it's also an age thing. I feel like I'm too old to be in this space, to be honest with you, because I get it, of course, but I get it to some extent but I don't. But I think native people, I'm definitely native, but I think there's another level of being native, like Tencent, for example. Like he would just go and ape into it. It's like for me, like I understand it, I love it, but I don't get into it. So I need to do something about it, about this mentality. I mean, because it is if enough people believe in a token has a value, it has a value, right? I think that's pretty much the premise.
We were at Consensus together, and I bought some meme coins, and I was just telling him about it, and it was maybe every 20 minutes he was like, "Oh man, look, it just went up 10%. Sell it, sell it, sell it." I think that was the whole week.
This is wild. Okay. I guess I'm kind of speechless. I don't really. I can't say like I get it. Okay. How many meme coins have you bought that didn't go up? Like, you actually like made money off of Pepe
Yeah.
relative to all the meme coins you bought that just went to zero?
I actually made more money off of Wojak than Pepe.
Okay.
I think one of them basically went to zero. The other ones all made money because as soon as I get a 2x, I pull out my initials. But yeah, I mean, I did Wojak, I did Pepe, I did Pleb, Bull, PB, that's the Print the Bob, which that one's the one that went to zero. And then I got a little bit of Mong, but not very much. But yeah, they all went up. So
Okay, but for all of these, there must be 1,000 that people have launched that don't do anything and don't like go anywhere, right?
yes, I saw. I think it was Elbardo had a very interesting analysis, and it was about like empty address wallets that interact with these coins. So like how many of there are, and then those all seem to do really really well. So that was very interesting. Elbardo, he's an analyst on crypto Twitter.
Oh yeah, I follow
Yeah.
Albardo. He's really good.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. I literally aped after seeing that. Basically, I just threw money at all of them.
Makes sense. Makes sense. It's the whole thing is just wild. It's just wild. Okay, but meanwhile, like what's the Silo token doing, which actually has utility and actually like you can use it for.
Oh man, we're doing well. We're doing very well.
Have you thought about
Charts
rebranding it?
up to the right.
Have you thought about rebranding it as a meme token though?
Put a silo on it. No, God no. I like our token.
Like, is there a way that?
So what happened with that? I'm sorry, wasn't like Woof or something that the Yearn launched like a year ago or 2 years ago? Was it like Woof
Yeah,
or
Yeah,
something?
dog tokens were all
but
the rage.
but
Yeah.
Woof was just like a fractionalized version of Wi-Fi, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the theory
Got it.
was people like buying very low price coins, right? So one woofie was always 1/100th of one Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
however it's pronounced.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like maybe we should launch. Maybe every DAO should launch a meme coin.
Oh no, man! Did you see what happened with Snowbank and they murdered their project?
What happened?
Really?
They made a meme coin competition, right? They were gonna say, okay, we're going to launch this Snow Dog coin. Yeah, my PTSD. Yeah, no, same. And then essentially what they said is we're going to use like $500,000. I don't remember. It was something ridiculous to just buy the token one time at exactly this time. And then what they did is they built like a little passphrase into the DexAMM so that like okay, we'll have to no one will be able to front run the contract. We'll just announce the passphrase on Twitter and whoever gets it first goes for it. But an insider definitely had an in before the website went out. So, he basically did it. Someone had either scraped the contract and found the password, or there was an insider involved. But yeah, no, got wrecked.
So rug basically. All right.
Yeah, killed the project. It was a Olympus fork on Avalanche.
Okay.
Jeez, this is. I'm kind of glad I don't peer out of our little corner of DeFi too often, because it's
Right. Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
it's a little
I
depressing.
I think our it is because this like the wealth that creates like at least one, it's just incredible. I mean you looked at just Tencent, like a small investment for like 2 days at 7,000. Today is like 500,000. I mean, where else on earth and how else on earth can you make that much? And imagine if that's a small position. I'm seeing massive wallets actually. I'm seeing like super large wallets, and but yeah, I mean, Silo token is doing okay, I think in general, but it's it cannot perform like a meme coin at all. It does not.
Is
Hopefully, I think it's a good thing.
is this an argument that if you have like a really good DeFi concept you want to launch, you're better off launching a meme coin first and then using the like proceeds that you get from the meme coin to launch like the actual like governance token, which might actually like have real utility. It's almost like the utility of these DeFi tokens holds them back, because the
Right.
Pepe coin could do anything. It's like the mystery
Yeah.
box, right? Like we don't know what's in the mystery box.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be a Pepe chain, but the Silo token's only going to be used for governance, right?
Yeah,
I
but
haven't seen any successful though experiment like this meme coins turning eventually into a serious project or innovating. I haven't seen it.
I think Shiba
here's a
talked about it.
well, also these erratic price movements are a function of low liquidity, right? I mean, Silo can't do the same thing because Silo has very built up and deep liquidity for the token. So if you want to push price 100x up, it's going to take you a lot more money. Whereas with Pepe, even if I buy right now, I can push price up with 20, 30K. I can push price up and tremendously.
How much would 20K, 30K move the price?
Oh, I can check. Let's see.
Yeah, let's take a look. It's on Uniswap, right?
Check.
Yeah,
And check on one of your screens, like 5 screens or whatever.
6 actually.
Yeah, feel free to
6
share your
screens.
screen while you do it. We can take a look live.
Here, hold on. I'm just gonna. Too much for me right now. Share the screen. I have like 300 things open. Okay, well, it's even giving me insufficient liquidity when I try. Okay. But I don't see any liquidity on. Oh, I'm on Arbitrum. Okay, I was like, did we just rug? Oh my god.
That makes sense. And actually, it's a question. Honestly, why don't those meme coins launch on L2s? Because you'd see, like right now, gas, for example, is just crazy. We don't see that on L2 for some reason. L2 is like
Not yet. I know that for Leviathan News, we were just trying to put together our multi-sig, and we did it on Arbitrum because it was like this is crazy. Gas is 200. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, looks like liquidity has increased. I think it's also because of the Binance listing. But yeah, I mean, a 20K buy pushes price up around 0.5%. I mean,
not bad.
That's not
yeah.
bad at all. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a whale, but I could move the price. But if everyone's buying, so if like the chain has been clogged with Pepe and all these other meme coins, so if so many people are buying, like how's the price not even more erratic than it currently is?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, I think it's stabilizing. I think Binance has probably decided that this is the meme coin they're going to take on, which is actually probably a really big vote of confidence for people, because Binance definitely checked those contracts. You know what I mean? So
I guess so. Let me go ahead and load up the Etherscan page here. So 100,000 holders of Pepe. It looks like most of the whole supply is pretty much out. And let's see if we can see the distribution. Is it one of those things where it's like 75% of people own all the liquidity? No?
No, it's not. But yeah, but those people that have 1 to 2% of the supply, they bought it with $50. So keep that in mind.
Okay. All right. So it's just people who are really good at marketing.
Yeah, and someone actually made a list, I think, of like there was like the first like 20 or 40 buyers, they had ENS names attached to them. So yeah, there are probably personalities here that had some sort of insider. But
all right, well, all right, probably that's enough about Pepe. I feel like we should talk more about the project you're actually building, Silo, as opposed to like the project that's kicking all of our butts.
Absolutely, let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about the cross silos that you. This was from the blog post in October 25th, 2022. You started doing the cross
the
silos.
stablecoin.
Yeah.
The stablecoin. Yeah.
So that's just
the stablecoins.
That was just specifically Xi, XAI. Am I pronouncing that right? Xi, Xi.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, Xi. Yeah. It's a basically it's backed by a multi collateral. So technically, I mean, definitely, it's kind of similar to I think So every collateral type has a limit, has a cap. So for instance, a bigger cap for USDC, so you could mint XAI with USDC. It's one credit line. We call them credit lines. And another one is you could mint it with ETH. We have also a small one for Geom, CBETH, staked ETH, Lido staked ETH, basically. And so multiple collateral basically can mint it.
And we have some smaller lines also for more of the DeFi tokens. So I think we have 150K mintable by Curve, 150K mintable by CVX. All the darlings essentially we minted too. So Wi-Fi as well.
Good. It held up pretty good.
Oh, you're muted.
Right.
Oh
yeah.
Apologies.
Am I muted?
Barking. Oh. No, it was me. It held up pretty good during the USDC depeg, right? Like I pulled up the Psy price feed on CoinGecko, or did CoinGecko miss like some like terrible like depeg that happened?
It didn't depeg terribly. It just it did the same thing that USDC did. But yeah, I mean, CoinGecko probably missed on that because we also have the CoinGecko is basically reading just the small amount of liquidity that we have on Uniswap. But the majority of the liquidity is obviously on Curve. It doesn't really track Curve pools very well.
Got it.
Not really. That's one of the problems we have actually. Is basically they don't read Curve pools.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a problem.
I think they
but no, because
you kind of have to yell at them.
Oh yeah, totally they can.
I've put in like maybe 6 requests. 7 requests, and I've done it through many accounts. So, but and then always when they add something and then they accidentally, I don't know why they do this, but like they'll remove something else, and it's like, oh, okay, wait, no, actually, I needed that pool too. That pool is actually more important. So at this point, it's like if we put in requests, we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
But the idea behind, go ahead.
Oh, we need DeFi Llama to build their CoinGecko replacement.
Oh man,
that would be cool.
Because they could do it.
I mean, oh yeah, totally, and I'm surprised they don't, because it's a main reason, the reason probably why we use CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. They can definitely use it.
All right, I think after we get off this like chat, we're gonna have to get on Twitter and start getting some noise onto DeFi Llama about building the CoinGecko replacement. Okay, so. At least this is. I probably should be looking at the Curve pool here, not the Uniswap pool. By the way, I think there will be price charts coming to the Curve UI soon.
Ah, nice.
So little alpha leak for anyone listening.
Go buy the token, alpha leak. But it's funny. So the idea behind our stablecoin is pretty much really this thinking of all other projects is. Well, you don't make enough fees on lending, for instance. Fees are kind of minuscule, really. It's very much like on swapping. You need a lot of volume. So basically, how do you make money? How does a DAO make money? And a stablecoin is kind of issuing stablecoin. In our case, it's not like a fee that you pay on minting. It's basically you have to borrow that stablecoin into existence, and then you pay a variable rate, and in some pools or some markets, you pay a fixed rate, but still it's not a minting fee. So Curve, I think they're probably thinking it's pretty much the same. It's just a stable coin. It all pay all LPs, and also V holders as well. The fee curve for in our case, hopefully it's going to be the case for Silo in the future, but not necessarily just from stablecoin. So it was an experiment. V1, honestly, it has a limited. We're running into some issues with it. It doesn't scale. It's not scaling that much. But the idea was, at least for an experiment, it was great because we've learned a lot. At least we make like, I don't know, like how much we make right now. We'd probably make like 200, 300,000 a year. Super minuscule amount, but
minuscule for
at
you,
least,
perhaps, or I take it. I could buy petrol.
No, not for me. I mean for the DAO. I mean as
Exactly.
overall,
Okay.
it's for the DAO. It's a small amount.
Okay, so divided.
No,
Yeah,
for me that's
not
that's a large
that's
amount. Yeah,
yeah, that's ramen money, I guess, for the DAO.
for the DAO,
Does this mean that
right?
you're coming out with V2 at some point?
Yeah, of course. Actually,
Nice.
we've started working on a V2. It's we have been experimenting for the last 250 days. We've been just collecting feedback left and right from developers and users. So hopefully will be something very composable that would hopefully work really well with the Curve ecosystem. Whatever Curve is going, well, hopefully we'll get that. The only thing that I hope that Curve developers work on at one point is just an Oracle solution because that's what it's missing. What's missing from Curve.
Hmm.
If you have it will just it will mean because eventually for any decentralized project, yeah, we always think about two things. Well, how do you read the price of a token? And ideally, you would read the price from the same pool that you will use to liquidate. It's exactly what Curve USD kind of promises, right?
Hmm.
Exactly. So, but you just need to read that price there. So it's kind of like it's self-contained in those pools. So and then lending would just work really nice because eventually all these uh, crypto projects, be it Pepe or Silo or really any project, to have a curve pool or Zai or whatever, have a curve pool, you have your existence and you have your Oracle and now and lending protocols kind of connect to it. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that would be the case, but we're building very composable lending, still isolated lending protocol.
So I've seen a little discussion about what might be a viable Curve Oracle solution. So you know how the Curve V2 pools have the price scale and the price Oracle function. So of course you think Oracle is the one you'd want to use because it's called Oracle. But that's just what the pool thinks the price is, right? Based on the activity, it says let's move in that direction.
Correct.
Price scale is where the liquidity is currently concentrated, and it only moves in the direction of price Oracle if it's able to do so profitably. Um, which essentially is like a pretty good solution for, or it's a better solution for price Oracle because like you can't really manipulate it as easily because you can, the only way that price scale moves is if the pool is taking profit. So the manipulation only works to make the pool more profitable. So like essentially like people have to just be losing too much money to be able to do it. So I've seen some discussion around like maybe there's a way that the price scale could become a price oracle externally, but it's a bit above my head.
Yeah, I mean, actually, curve pools do have TWAP oracles, right? It's just that they're not like enabled. There's, I think, two or three curve pools
So the V
with a TWAP oracle.
yeah V2
Yeah.
pools I believe all have them natively. The V1 pools won't until the kind of newest iteration of them. So the newest implementations in the factory do have it. I think the convex curve pool, when they migrated from the original one that they were doing, like pool 22, I think, to whatever it is now, like
It's not a TWAP though. That's the issue. It's not a TWAP. Yes, it is an oracle, but it's basically surfaces the spot price, not a TWAP. You cannot just
but it's
configure it the way you can configure the oracles of Uniswap v3.
right. But it's based on an exponential moving average, which at least smooths it out a bit, right?
A bit. So, and this is exactly what S Frax ETH does. It uses that one, but it also uses the price of not the S Frax ETH, just Frax ETH on Uniswap v3 combined together. They have
Mm-hmm.
some probably circuit breakers and whatever, and then they kind of give you the price. Yes, but like you said, kind of it's one of the things to have in the oracle you build, but on its own, it doesn't. It's not really a good oracle.
I see. I see.
Exponential, yeah, moving average, yeah.
Okay, so it would need to be maybe okay. So I feel like there's probably a way that you could do something like a wrapper contract that kind of looked at the Curve Oracle price compared against the Uniswap price, and it returned like a canonical value. Would something like that, like a, or am I just like
Yeah,
shitposing it?
that's actually what oracles do, right? They take the multiple feeds and they aggregate them together, and then they put a filter over it like TWAP. So yeah, I mean, we've been doing this on Arbitrum, right? We have obviously Chainlink support, but I just added Dia support,
Mm-hmm.
and the good thing about them is really there is no harsh requirements. So if we ask them to set up an Oracle, they'll kind of say, hey, like, is there a sufficient amount of price feeds to make this a safe Oracle? And if there is, then they can just launch it for us. But yeah, and it does exactly what you're thinking. So it takes all the prices, compares them, and averages them out using a filter, which you can choose.
Okay. I'm so
But yeah.
dumb about oracles, I have to admit, because Curve like never relied on them, so I kind of like skipped that chapter in my coding textbook. Isn't it the case that every time you call like Chainlink to get a price, you have to pay in Chainlink to retrieve that price?
The user technically kind of the user pays. I think you can read the price. Yes, the contract reads the price, and then user pays for it.
Right,
Yes.
but there's always an extra cost involved in that.
For the user, yes, but also Chainlink paying to push this price off like from the nodes to the chain, and that costs a lot of money. So I think they pay like millions in dollars in every month
Mm-hmm.
just to do that. We have I can tell you like we have actually an Oracle on like a Dia Oracle that we actually pay for pushing these updates, but it's on the Arbitrum. So luckily,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, every minute probably we pay like every couple of minutes we pay like 25 cents or something. You can multiply that by at least 10x, probably even more on Ethereum. So right now in this gas, probably pushing the price. Let's say that pushing the price of ETH USD, Chainlink is probably paying through the nose.
Wow, that's
And they push this they push one update every if the price moves beyond 0.05 deviation,
oof.
like with 0.05%, which is not much.
Not
Yes,
much.
yes, that's so I'm sure that probably cost them in like I think they pay probably $100 million in fees every year. I'm not surprised if they do that.
Wow, that's just crazy. Okay.
Yeah,
um,
it is crazy. It is crazy, exactly. So yeah.
Going back to Zai stablecoin for a second, I had that chart open. It wasn't just a Uniswap phenomenon. It's currently trading at like 98.4 cents, which is, I'd say it's still
Yeah.
peaked. That's close enough. Um, but
Yeah,
with
because the pool, if you look at the pool composition, so here's what we've learned, and this is part of the learning. It's good. It's kind of soft peg basically. So users borrow Zai and they exchange it for USDC. They don't LP in the pool. So you would expect a user to LP in the pool because the pool pays probably like 10% in convex. But users are not, this is not enough for us. So they don't LP. So they borrow Zai from the lending, from an isolated lending market, and then they just exchange it for USDC or Frax in this case.
Mhm.
And then they use this USDC somewhere. And the pool is just completely imbalanced right now. There's probably 73, 74% Zai, 25%. And that basically pushed the price of Zai down a bit.
Got it. So it's
Yeah,
almost
another big thing is, sorry, but another thing is people that borrow out Zai and do LP in the pool, they just borrow the Zai and they deposit the Zai directly. So
mhm.
that throws off the pool's balance, not necessarily remove any Frax or USDC, but it changes the ratio, which does affect the peg.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I could draw the analogy to like when like prices of Ethereum Nuke and LUSD is trading like just a couple cents above peg because people really need the USDC in that minute. Sorry, the LUSD in that minute to repay their
Yeah.
loans.
Right.
So there's just like it's
Right.
like the exact like same phenomenon where like people need the Frax and USDC to do their degenerate gambling so badly that at the
Right.
moment size just like
Right.
slightly below peg, but it would return.
Right.
Okay, interesting.
And this price impact. So now, actually, if you deposit just if you LP with USDC only or Frax, you would get a big positive price impact. So you get more LP tokens. So you
Right.
don't even have to borrow Zai in the first place. So you would save completely on borrowing or minting it, technically. So you would just deposit it one single-sided, and you would be farming, I don't know how much on convex or Frax convex. But we're not seeing that behavior, though. So that's the theory, and that's what kind of you learn why. Well, it's just
I did
something
it.
that we have to.
I did it. I have to admit, I
Yeah.
had some USDC. I was like, I'm not gonna like get 3% yield on my USDC, putting it in like a like
Yeah.
one of the safer pools. I was like, Psy people seem like they know what they're doing. I can get a little bonus, and I can get 11%, 10%, or whatever you said on Convex. Like that's pretty good. So far it's so far you haven't rugged me yet. I appreciate that.
And it's actually 15% if you put it in Frax Convex, up to 18% if you lock it. But
Right, I needed it liquid is the problem, so I couldn't lock it in.
yeah,
Yes, and that's and I was telling Tenzin the other day. I was telling him like, and because we were thinking like, well, there is an incentive for you to lock in Frank's convex, but I told him this friction. People don't like to lock. I personally don't like to lock because I actually learned the lesson when USDC pegged or depegged. I'm sorry. So probably you would wanted to kind of take out your money from from anything locked. Basically, it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I agree.
And yes, even for a week, like, I don't want to do it. And also, you don't want to keep relocking every week. So if you do it like they have a vault and it ranges from a week up to a year, I think. Um, but every time first of all, you have to start a vault, and that costs some money, and then you have to lock and then relock and renew the lock, and it's just a mess. Like I don't want
It's
to.
never worked for me. I've tried it because I've played around DeFi for a couple years now. It's never worked out. Like just like you say, you always lock it, and usually what happens is just the yield dries up, right? Like you know these yields are just dependent on who's bribing, who's incentivizing. So the yields like look great. You lock it for 6 months, and the yields drop to 1% or 0% or something.
Exactly, and especially in those, yes, voting changes, the weight changes all the time, and so and also, to be honest, I don't think there is. If you want to lock users, offer users a way to exit. I'm not sure if there's an exit, but should be like a safe exit. But honestly, I just never understood like why would you lock liquidity, especially in like a stable coin environment. Like it's just stable coin,
I actually
right?
learned this the hard way. So about a year plus ago, we were working on PacDAO for like political influence. Our thought was like, let's put up a bounty. People lock their money as like this bounty program for legislators, and if anyone takes action, then we'll release the bounty towards that legislator. Um, and it actually kind of worked in terms of like all these people like saw like that crazy ape energy. They're like, all right, we have to degen into this. Some people I'm sure were just buying because they're like, I don't know, everyone else putting money in, let's put money in. So they're like, okay, cool, like we put together like a few $100,000 of like funds which will be pledged towards any like representative or senator who takes action. And at that point it was on the infrastructure bill, which was like a big that was the problems we were facing in policy a year ago. It's gotten way worse since then. Um, so this had some problems though, because like $100,000 in crypto money was not enough to influence anyone in Washington D.C. Because first of all, like only like maybe 5 people there understand crypto, and the challenge of getting it to their campaign, it's like they're not going to like affect legislative change based on this. But then like all the degens who aped in are looking at this and saying, okay, well, I put my money in. I'd like to take my money out. And we have to be like, nope, can't do it yet. We have to keep this tied up. That's the terms until whenever they vote on this bill. And Washington goes so slowly. So every single day in the Discord was just people yelling and complaining and complaining. And we could have done so good, moral of the story, if we just said, all right, you're allowed to leave whenever you want, but you only get 50% of your money back. And that would have actually solved a lot
Right.
of this. And we would have made a lot
Yeah.
of money. Instead, instead we did it the other way, and we like lost a lot of goodwill.
It-
So I think a
it's
vault,
also
yeah,
learning. It's a learning curve.
yeah.
Yeah, you learn. Yeah,
And you could get crazy with it
should
too,
speak
right?
to Sam about it.
You could have like an exponential function or something, depending on how long you locked it up. You got a certain percent back, right? So if you exited early, like you get a variable percent or something.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we should tell Sam to retire those vaults and just give us no luck
Well, Sam is so
vaults,
much
basically.
smarter than me, though. So I'm sure if he's doing this, he's doing it for a reason. Is there a reason that he's articulated publicly that he's sticking behind the vault strategy?
I'm not aware of it, to be honest.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah,
But
you
you're
have
not
to
planning
drop
on
him a
doing
message.
lockings, are you?
Okay, so oh no, no, not at
Okay.
all. I think we were, yeah, I think like even vSilo, we were just kind of thinking something similar to Curve. And although we're seeing a lot of projects requiring, like, for example, emissions, do you lock emissions? I mean, like, I personally don't like when emissions are locked. So let's say right now, for instance, imagine if your curve or convex rewards are locked, right? So you're earning them, but you're not earning them, right? Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to wait, let's say, a month or two or three. I think a couple of projects do that just to kind of manage inflation or artificially get the price up. But I feel like that's not a good kind of user experience. Like, hey, you've farmed this, just give it to the users, and those who believe in you, they'll probably keep it or stake it in governance and increase their weight.
Mm-hmm.
Or those who are just farming to dump, they'll dump on you.
It
And
happens.
that's
It
yeah.
happens. So is the primary use case at the moment for Silo the one you were talking about before, where people are basically borrowing Psi, trading to USDC? Is that been like the main use case you've seen, or is there other like use cases so far? You said you talked with a lot
For
of your users. Like, I'm curious what their feedback was.
for Zai, for the stablecoin,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, mostly, I think users just they need stablecoin, so
Mm-hmm.
they want to borrow it, and they always look for this unique collateral that can mint it. For instance, I think on Ethereum, you can mint Zai with GOM and OM, and for some users, or CBETH or RETH. I'm sorry, staked Lido staked ETH. So some users, sometimes they need stablecoin, they just go and borrow it, and then they're not borrowing to LP because LP doesn't appeal to every user, and they just want to to exchange it. So yes, mainly to use cases. Majority of them they sell it, and of course some users they LP.
Yeah, and I would say also we're pleasantly surprised with Arbitrum. Arbitrum actually has, I think, even more borrowing in terms of like actual borrowing TVL than mainnet. And I think that it shows also how much trust there is in USDC. So the Arbitrum deployment doesn't have Zai on it; it has USDC instead. And on the Zai pools, we actually don't really see very many people deposit Zai into any of the markets. It's mostly minted by the DAO. Whereas on Arbitrum, it's been literally just completely organic growth. People just come in; they're constantly watching. I mean, our lending feed where we kind of look at the activity is always going off. So yeah, I think there's a lot of very interesting users on Arbitrum that are like actually very willing to arbitrage rates, and maybe that has to do with the very small gas fees as well. But no, yeah.
Right. So because here's what happens, because we have isolated markets. So USDC sitting in the ARB silo, for example, might yield 3%, but maybe USDC yields 7% in another isolated market, right? So that, well, there's a spread now between these two, so you probably stake, withdraw deposit. This on Ethereum is not possible because gas is just insane. And an Arbitrum probably cost you like 60 cents to do all this. So you take from another market, just give it another market, and then you're probably earning more. And now in our markets on Arbitrum, we're seeing users or even dApps actually borrowing USDC with ARB, with GMX, with Magic. And these are trusted collateral, obviously. And a lot of USDC holders just kind of deposit. If you borrow USDC on Arbitrum, it's easy to exit it. It's easy to use it, move it around. In our case, if you borrow Zai, it's going to cost you a lot to actually exchange it, even because of the peg issue, right? So now we're learning basically. So in order to have to profit from a stablecoin in an isolated lending protocol like ours, as a DAO, well, you need to build really, really super deep liquidity for our stablecoin. So maybe Zai V2 is going to be, we're going to mint it, we're going to create like a mechanism off of crv.USD and wrap it and create Zai V2. We'll see.
And will Zai V2 also be bridgeable to Arbitrum since you're getting so much activity there?
No, it's just a thought right now. I think, no, it's just, man, it's just really difficult and costly to create liquidity for a stablecoin.
Yeah, and
It's
also
really, really expensive.
the V2 is highly composable, so it doesn't have to launch with Zai already on it. So Zai will likely come, or
Yeah.
Zai V2 will likely come after the V2 launch, but our V2 will be very customizable, and I mean even other people will be able to create stablecoins using it. Something like a CDP would be super easy to launch with our V2. But yeah.
Got it. That's interesting. Do you think that Arbitrum is just going to become like the home of DeFi? Like all the DeFi apps will just have such a presence in Arbitrum? They already do. Like there's a ton of apps that you can only find on Arbitrum. Like given that you're seeing that that's just where the action is, do you think that Arbitrum will be the DeFi chain?
One of the DeFi, definitely the leading one. I think Optimism is also a contender for sure. I'm not sure. I think we'll have a couple of them. I think eventually what we will see once L2s become interoperable, they all connect together. I think for the user wouldn't matter, to be honest. So
Yeah, I think
it all depends on the bridgeability among these L2s, really.
yeah, and also we need to see who wins the interoperability race, right? Because obviously Optimism has their own kind of structure for how they're doing their horizontal L2s, I believe they're doing, whereas Arbitrum has kind of like this layer 3 style, and then they have like the side chain. So they have different communications between them. So I don't think that Arbitrum will be able to connect with Optimism unless there's some intermediary chain there. But overall, I think that we have yet to see who will win the cross-chain war. But in terms of DeFi, I very much think that Arbitrum has a substantial lead over basically all the other chains.
Right.
So, on back to mainnet for a minute. On
Well,
this here, is this default sorted to like the most popular markets?
It's the highest available to
TVL.
borrow,
Has to be
highest
Yeah.
liquidity available to borrow.
So, is this like roughly a good proxy though for which markets are like being used, or the opposite? It would be the markets where it's not being used and thus it has a lot available to borrow.
It's kind of mixed. For example, AUSD and Frax don't actually have very much usage, but they just have very large credit lines. But wrap staked ETH, CB USDC, those are like probably the highest used.
Yeah, we have
in general.
highest use in LSDs. LSDs actually it's pretty nice because they're isolated. So right now, if you deposit CB and borrow ETH, you're basically isolated. You don't care what happens in other silos, basically. But we see a lot of leverage up because now especially there's a basically risk-free kind of option for users to stake. So it's just it's becoming easier for you to you deposit your Lido ETH, borrow ETH, and sell it and buy Lido and kind of leverage up because you can always sell it back to ETH. Theoretically, at least we haven't looked into the exit queues and all this kind of stuff, but yeah, so we're seeing a lot of activity there.
Semi risk free. I just want to throw that out there because I've had multiple people message me afterwards and they're like, "Oh no, slashing is a real risk." Yeah, okay, yes, there is
Yes,
slashing
that's
risk,
true.
but but it is the closest thing we have to a treasury bill in Ethereum. So
It really seems like LSDs, since Shanghai especially, have like sort of become very centralized in DeFi. Like I'm seeing a bunch more protocols, like CurveUSD included, like you treat it, using the yield bearing Ethereum as the collateral. Like it's almost like it's like really crystallized something in this way. So anyway,
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys, you mentioned that like you've done a lot of talks with your users, and obviously like one of the core like value, like one of the conceptual ideas behind Silo, the name itself is like this concept of siloing risk. But in talking with your users, how much do they actually care about like avoiding risk? Because obviously, if people are putting their life savings in something called Pepe Coin, like a lot of the people in the space are like don't care about risk, right? Or is there like a subset of people that really do care about risk? Is that the appeal that most people describe about your protocol, or is that just something that maybe helped you out of the gate to actually attract some users?
No, well, absolutely. Well, it depends really on the user and the if you're, for instance, so here's the really reality. The reality is that large net worth users, they care about deep markets, and they don't necessarily deal with beyond the 5 6 crypto assets. They don't necessarily trade that at all. So those probably will go and use Aave because it has much deeper. I mean, talking about, for example, CBE. Well, there's definitely a bigger one. I mean, especially now that Aave V3 has very limited collateral tokens. So theoretically, or V2, after delisting those assets, technically speaking, they're like focused really on few token assets. So, but once you start moving beyond those three, four, five, well, first of all, availability. So they use Silo because that's the only place to find, a certain token asset. But there is definitely, I would say, core DeFi users probably were looking at 5 to 10% that care about risk isolation. To be honest with you, there's some.
And
Yeah, it's not because they don't know, because they still don't know until there is an event, until there is an event, and you don't see those like hack events, I mean exploits, and you don't see those much on Ethereum. You'd see them on the forks, a lot of that on the forks.
Mm-hmm.
And then
yeah,
users start asking basically, about risk isolation and stuff like that. But I would say can tell you like it's the main driver right now is actually not risk isolation. It's actually the byproduct of that. The main driver right now for users is just basically I can see that they have a unique market, which is a byproduct of the risk isolation. And then they'll learn like, well, it's also risk isolated. So the whales, they understand, well, okay, that's good. I don't care. Go list whatever you want. Go list Pepe today. I don't care because it's isolated. Yeah,
mhm.
that's
and
my at least.
Yeah. And I would add also that it's some users, there's like a subset of users that it's not necessarily that they don't care about risk, but they maybe care more about efficiency. So there is a trade-off, right, with our model, which is you have liquidity fragmentation in the bridge assets, in the ETH and the USDCs. Um, so users, they like to have better rates, right? You have one unified pool. So there is a friction around efficiency, but I think we're coming up with a fairly ingenious solution to that as well, while retaining the risk isolation thesis.
Would it be fair to say that if it's not like, or maybe just 5 to 10% of users who care about it, like it's still useful to have this risk isolation just for you, so that you're operating this protocol and you don't have to worry about your own protocol getting rug pulled or like cascading failures that could wipe out your entire business in one night?
Oh man, I mean, I think we still have to worry about all those things,
Okay.
and we are like really we're up all night and like looking at the markets, and we very much care. Aham has spent, I mean, I'm pretty sure he lost his hair just during this project, but this
Gray
it's
hair
been
too. Yeah. The truth is that until it's like Uniswap style where you don't care, people create whatever they want, and you kind of step back and just educate users that choose your own risk, basically. Until then, we're trying to be vigilant. We're trying to kind of tell users. Obviously, we cannot know everything. Something, for example, that people don't or users don't understand how much work goes into a lending protocol. It's not like an AMM because you're dependent on oracles and you're dependent on liquidators as well. So any of these fail, you've got a problem. In traditional lending, it's even a bigger problem because it's just one big pool, and it's always a problem there. But anyway, so yeah, liquidation is a big problem, and all if something happens, and actually we've had this issue sometimes. Like those, you told me, like closed calls. Closed calls would be a token asset all of a sudden lose its liquidity on chain for some reason. And well, how do you liquidate? Right? Obviously, it's isolated. Users shouldn't care much, but we I feel kind of responsible. It's like, okay, what do we do in this case? I can actually give you a live example of this on Arbitrum. Liquidity for Omami has dried up big time because of the staking options available on the protocol. So you couldn't really liquidate much, and that made the Oracle vulnerable. So what we did, we announced like, hey guys, go withdraw your liquidity, remove it from from the lending market, from the isolated ones. It's like, hey, go remove your liquidity because Oracle might be vulnerable, and we cannot protect you guys. The only thing we can do is warn you. And you know what's happened after that? Liquidity actually increased in the market.
Really?
Yeah, just oh yeah, it's
Why?
just which I I don't
Apes.
know. People apes, yeah, they're just like, okay, there's an opportunity for you to borrow USDC against your mommy, and I'm just gonna take it. It's like, yeah, these guys probably exaggerating. We're not exaggerating. It is a risk. We have $0 there. We used to kind of sometimes we deposit ourselves individually just to help markets grow. It's like we don't have $1 there, and it's like, but people, it's like, okay, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, what can you do?
Have there been some silos you've created that just didn't quite work out, like just no interest from users in it? And if so, like what were the kind of
Yeah,
like properties or lessons from that?
curve, convex.
Okay, yeah.
Because of the staking. Yeah, because of we tried actually to get Mitch kind of like deposit some because he used to stake with Aave and later Frax Lane, but then he closed or whatever. Yeah, they just never picked up. And definitely also on Arbitrum,
Well, actually,
WBTC didn't pick up.
Curve
Go
did
ahead.
pick up in the last week and a half. Actually, we do have I think a 250,000 of Curve in there. But yeah, basically, there's no more bridge liquidity left anymore. Which that
Yeah.
has also been a big barrier, which is kind of like the chicken and egg problem. Like, you need kind of some starter liquidity there for kind of wanting people to want to deposit in the first place, right? And, yeah.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that's a bigger of kind of a problem. I think isolated lending markets will be always some will have also always a liquidity issue on Ethereum because of gas. It doesn't make sense. If I have $10,000 right now, I deposit it to Curve. Let's say, like you said, yields drop for any reason, and you need to withdraw it. That will just make it for you will lose money immediately because of gas, right? Because you have to deposit. Well, you don't care on Arbitrum. Arbitrum is just like, okay, I lost 50 cents. All right, that's a problem. It's not a problem. I can deposit in another market and whatever. And that's why I think eventually it will. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Hopefully, Ethereum will scale one day, and we'll see. But
I mean, yeah, let's hope so.
I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, it's like essentially vaulting or like forcing me into a lock because I can't afford to do anything. Like it used to be the case that like $5,000 on Ethereum, like it would make sense to like ape into a pool. Now I basically say if it's less than 25K, like it probably doesn't make sense, just because you're gonna see
It doesn't.
gas eat it so quickly. So then the silo, like it's like, correct me if I got this wrong. Like it's like VE Silo is able to steer liquidity through the Silo vaults, right? For the Silo rewards.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how's the like what's the learnings been from like operating that sort of tokenomics so far?
It's not live yet.
Yeah.
Well, it's not.
This is
sorry.
V2. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it's not live yet, but the one thing that we have been taking away from the VE model is that staking is a huge barrier to entry, or I mean, it just doesn't fit the lending model, right? So with Curve, you can deposit your liquidity and then you stake it in a gauge, right? But when you think about it from the perspective of a lending protocol, right? If I have USD and then I turn it into SUSDC, whatever, and then I want to borrow against it, then I can't stake it, right? Because if I stake it, then I can't take a loan against it. So kind of fixing the whole staking component for the lending side was a big upgrade. So non-staking gauges, basically.
Got it. That's gonna be pretty cool. I'm excited. Is it too early to ask when?
You're muted.
Oh.
Oh, Aiham is.
Yeah, I am muted. Yeah, we cannot really give timelines right now. I mean, every time we do it, just something happens. So it's like, okay, well, yeah,
I get it.
we'll take our time this time.
Yeah, having seen Mitch push off curved USD for a year, I get it. So this is another random one that I was interested to ask you about. This is a tweet from Tsunami that came earlier. Tsunami Protocol. I wrote about them a couple weeks ago. They're doing some interesting stuff, and they just like created this dashboard for Psi. I don't know if you'd seen that.
Yeah, we retweeted it actually. The Tsunami Protocol, essentially you deposit USDC into it, and they provide it to different curve pools. So right now they have support for 3 curve pools, and we're one of those. So 33% of their TVL goes to Xi. So yeah, we're very excited for it. They also bought some CVX too, if you saw. I think they bought 150K.
Oh,
yeah.
No way, that's awesome. I didn't see that. That's cool. So that.
Yeah, no, it's a good dashboard though too. If you go on there, it also tells you the backing collateral for Xi, which is pretty cool for them.
Go ahead and take a look at that. That is cool. So how did that come about? Was that just completely random, or have you been talking with the team there ahead of time?
I talked to them when they were working on the integration. They really didn't need very much help. So yeah, they did have a small exploit happen, which sucked for them, but now they're coming back full force, which will be good.
This is a pretty cool dashboard.
And there's socialized gas as well, right? If I'm not mistaken, I kind of deposited actually
Yes.
to experiment with it. They socialize gas, so you deposit your USDC, but then they pull it together with other people, and then they deposit it at once. And when you exit, there's also an exit queue, or they waited to batch it.
It's a good idea.
So yeah, nowadays, yeah, it's a good idea, especially for yeah, exactly for you if you don't have a lot of money, and which is the case for a lot of people.
I suffer from that.
Yeah.
I think we all do. That's pretty cool. Are there other integrations that you're working on, like with other protocols?
Oh yeah. Well, on Arbitrum, Overnight's been building strategies on top of us that are already live, and they have a very interesting model. So essentially, you deposit USDC, and then they use that USDC to borrow, in our case, the ARB token. They LP it with more USDC, and they deposit it in DEXs, and they try to beat the impermanent loss with the rewards, which is super good integration for us because it brings USDC into the market, and then also it brings up the APYs for the base asset depositors like the ARB depositors. And then those types of projects have been really growing on Arbitrum, and there's actually 3 more doing very similar things that are building on top of Silo right now.
That's exciting. Do you think that at some point, like, you might just make more like fees for the DAO off of like the integrations than just like end direct to users?
Well, the integrations play into the protocol. I think the protocol fee will eventually just start growing to a point that it will just start feeding so much revenue into VE Silo that yeah.
Got it. That's cool. So it sounds like you all are pretty optimistic about the next 1 to 5 years of Ethereum. Is that fair to say? Ethereum and cryptocurrencies?
I would say so, but that's me.
I would be. I think scalability is a real problem. Now we have solved this proof of stake. Like a really, it was a problem. I think the next has to be worked on. Like I think the priority has to be scaling because it just doesn't make sense to pay that much gas. It's just really prohibitive for like for billion reason. honestly, even on L2s, even on, it's still very expensive. 50 cent per transaction or 20 cent or 30 cent, it's extremely expensive. It has to go below, I would say 10 cent or even a cent actually for to see actually more and more activities, more complex uh, operations. The problem right now, one of the limits is that if you want to create, for example, complex algorithms and all, they just, those are gas guzzlers and will be a problem. And that's why we don't see much of complexity on that. So if we were to scale, number one, first of all, we have to decentralize proof of stake more. This right now, what I see with LSDs are not, it's good, promising, but we need definitely more decentralization around that, be it Lido, be it Frax, be it Rocket Pool, all of them. Hopefully, there are actually already working on that. And that's number one. Number two, we have to scale this thing. It's just very expensive, right?
Yeah. So
And unless these two happen,
I
no,
used
I don't see it.
I used to agree that that you have to have it be cheaper so people use it. But I think I'm coming around to the opposite opinion because it seems to me like every time like I remember like right after the merge, for example, it was like a ghost town. There was that was the last time I can remember that we've seen gas below 15 Gwei, and it like all of a
Right.
sudden it was the same chain that like a year ago, before a year before that, everyone was like falling over themselves, paying 100, 200, 300 gas to actually use it, and then all of a sudden gas fees got cheap, and it's like no one wanted to use it. And it almost seems like, I mean, because the gas fee is just a measure of demand, but it almost feels like periods of high demand tend to like get some like FOMO or whatever, and more people seem to use it as it gets like as basically like as like it feels like high gas begets higher gas, whereas like low gas begets lower activity. Maybe like there's nothing analytical to back it up, but that's just really a feeling that I've seen. And then going a little bit
Yeah.
further. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm good. Yeah, please.
I was just gonna say, like, going a little further on that, like, I look at this from the point of view of me. Like, I'm fairly poor, um, whereas like probably like 80% of the DeFi TVL is from like a small concentration of super whales, and super whales don't care
Yeah.
about gas, right? So I feel like all you're doing when gas is high is like knocking out like the small 20% that can't really do much anyway. Whereas like the like the I think it's like pretty conclusive to say like Mitch Will has been deploying crv.USD in this past like period of 100 some Gwei gas, and he's not looking at the gas. He just like aped 30 ETH into his deployer address, deployed, didn't work, deployed again, didn't work, deployed. Okay, this one works. Like he spent 10 Ethereum so far on deployment just to test in prod. Like that's like $20,000. But if you're a whale, you don't care about that, I don't think. So I'm not actually sure. Like,
No.
it's like high gas prices almost has this effect of like an elite club requiring like $100 or
Yeah.
$1,000 cover charge to get in. Like, it kind of
Right.
keeps the poor people out.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Even if you want to, even so, there are probably three levels. So there is the obviously super whales and like Mitch and the rest probably they make 20K a day just passively farming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. But there is also the people like us. They can, you go on Arbitrum, you use it, you're okay. But there is also a lot of people in the rest of the country, like the rest of the world, they make maybe $100 a month, maybe $50 a month. So
Right.
paying also 20 cents for a transaction, that's just a lot of money. So that's why I said it's if you want to really have a, let's say, take an example, just like have an ideal world, you have a truly decentralized bank on a super chain where everyone is just transacting, be it in Sri Lanka or India or anywhere or the States, doesn't matter, and you're paying like the same cost that you would pay to even access the internet. We're Ethereum very, very far from that, like miles from that. And every time, like you said, we're locked. Every time gas goes up, we're all locked. In we don't use it, and it becomes kind of an elite club. And this elite club, they will, yeah, it's kind of, and these L2s, I'm not sure if they're ready to solve this problem because, like you said, just look at the Pepe today has a kind of market capitalization larger than Arbitrum in a few days. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Now, isn't it a
it's,
good thing for a DeFi founder though, like to know that your rich customers are all segregated in like one chain? Because you could then build and hope to get like one of these super whales as opposed to like going to the dollar store chains where like there's might be a lot of people but they don't have money. Like isn't that sort of like a DeFi
yeah,
founder's dream to just keep catering to the ultra wealthy? Like because I share your
if
like
you're
I share your like bias. Like I'd like to build something that's like accessible to the whole world, but I feel like the incentives just keep pushing it to be more segregated, which is not what I want to see.
yeah, if you're a founder aiming to get rich and that's your goal, yes, I think you would definitely just focus on Ethereum and try to kind of like, which is probably the case of many people. But if you're a founder trying to help humanity somehow,
Mm-hmm.
you would kind of think a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Hopefully Mitch is listening to us. I think he's a good a human would definitely love to see more of an accessible a stable coin. So uh, it's naturally, and I'm right now speculating about all of us. When you're into that kind of like tier of humans, the ultra, super ultra, like the ultra rich, basically, you're you're biased. You don't know how the rest of the people live. So maybe the next would be kind of like actually grow curve on these L2s and make this stablecoin accessible then
Mm-hmm.
to them, right?
Right.
That would be good. But for the majority of founders, they don't necessarily think that much, not because of they're not good people, they are, but it just sometimes you're in that bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just gotta gas up Aham for a minute because I mean Aham is an incredible person, and I mean he's incredibly frugal. He doesn't, he's not trying to become ultra rich. He just really wants to help people,
Mm-hmm.
and that was something that really drew me to the project as well because before I was in the project as a team member, I was a community member, and when I first met Aham, I think I was the first person he ever met through online. So I mean, Aham really cares about all this stuff and just being inclusive
Yeah.
and really helping others.
Oh,
So
100%, sir. I can tell just by talking to you, you exude integrity, which is the kind of thing I like to see.
Thank you so much.
It's the kind of thing I like to see
Yeah.
in a DeFi protocol. But I guess, like I've already said, I'm not the norm. I guess most people are just looking for like a greedy founder who is going to rug them. Like they're looking for the sifus and the.
They're winners because and this those people win because they focus on making money, which is I think great. I think for whatever makes you happy really, and people follow those because then you can make money with them, which is great. But then also we can also maybe build also some stuff at the same time for other people.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
Let's talk a
I'm
bit.
hoping Ethereum will scale.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think it will. I think like I used to like think it was not possible, but I feel like I was basically underestimating the Ethereum devs. I thought it would like it did make sense that they build for multiple like things they're trying to optimize, but they've done such a good job with the merge and everything that I completely I completely trust that they're gonna nail dank sharding and like the next few updates are focused on scaling, I believe. So I think
Yes.
we're gonna start to see that soon. Hopefully soon enough that I can withdraw some of my money. Let's talk a bit more about your superhero origin story, because I think when we were talking last time, or maybe I read this somewhere, like your first like foray into crypto was with like music digital management rights. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. It was that was the way we kind of accessed that. We wanted to do an L1, a settlement,
Mm-hmm.
instant settlement between Spotify and any copyright holder, really, be it a song or basically a music or um, uh, yeah. So
podcast.
yeah, so that was the idea, which was, and then we wanted to tokenize a song. That was basically the first startup we did. Two ambitious projects back in 2018. We could not do settlement because we didn't have a stablecoin, so everyone refused to even try it. Number one. Number two, attorneys told us if you basically tokenize, people didn't use the term NFT back then. If you tokenize a song and you make a song ERC 721, you're issuing a security because you're securitizing a song. So every song has to be an IPO on its own, you know. So you have to IPO, let's say, which was fun to work on, and that didn't work really, didn't work out at all. It was yeah. And then we graduated from that project super poor. It was like because we had worked on it a long time, not making money, and although we raised like $500,000, I think, for that or something like that.
Nice.
Forgot. But yeah, it did not work out. But that was my
Mm-hmm. So what was it that like attracted you? Because everyone sort of has their like aha moment where they're like they get interested in cryptocurrency and they kind of fall down the rabbit hole. Was it specifically that you're interested in doing the song management rights, or is it that you like were looking at this concept of like a more decentralized future? Like what was your like eureka moment there? Was it 2018 or
actually
before
none
that?
of it.
None of it?
2008. Yeah, none of it at all. I was just fascinated by, the blockchain and the decentralization, and specific decentralization of power. I have some sort of like a problem with centers of power
Right.
in my life. Probably I need some therapy, but anyway, yeah. So yeah,
Let's talk more about
so
that.
whenever.
I'm with you. So
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. It's just basically, why would someone tell you like, oh, that's the value of something? Like, why do banks, why do only banks have the right to give loans, for example?
mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, why can't I contribute a fundraising campaign, and why can't I own 0.1% of a a small restaurant in my neighborhood? Why do they need to go to a bank?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I give them money, even it's a small amount, and get some equity? And we've seen that in the pandemic, right? In the early days of the pandemic. But that was the thinking back then in my mind. Why do I need a license in order to give money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you basically decentralizing that power center, which is the money, which is not going to be an easy way. Probably will take a couple of hundreds of years of struggling, but that was really my idea of my thought back then. It's like, and I thought like, wow, if we all transact in these crypto, I don't care, they're Pepe or Ethereum or Bitcoin or USDC, anything that is, I have access to it. Probably not USDC, but something more cannot be custodied, basically. Yeah.
Were you a troublemaker as a kid?
100%. Oh yeah, man. I was like, yeah, yeah,
Um,
big time.
would your parents like if they were on here? Would they tell horror stories about raising you?
Yeah, that like just like I didn't like school, man. Like didn't like school. They called my it's like I bring your parents to school like every time, suspended every. Yeah, I just had some authority problem back then. Yeah.
Okay, so this is like going back to childhood. You've always had this.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now I'm more of a I'm more tamed right now.
Where did you grow up? Like was it like more of like a wealthy family, a poorer family?
No, no, not at all. I grew up actually in a small town in Syria on the Mediterranean.
Mm-hmm.
It basically borders Turkey from the south, southern Turkey,
Mm-hmm.
closer to Cyprus. No, middle class, lower middle class family.
Mm-hmm.
Father is an engineer and mother is a teacher. Lower middle class. We definitely lower middle class in sanctioned country like Syria. We had sanctions since 1981, a year before I was born.
Probably where some of the authority issues
Severe.
come from.
Yeah, exactly. So a lower middle class means in kind of other standards, in other society standards, is basically poor because you had like two pairs of pants and one pairs of shoes and every season, and you just used you yeah you wear your jeans like once every season, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay because everyone is around you is like that, right? Which is great. I mean, I've never really felt anything. I don't care.
So it
But no,
basically
I don't.
means
Yeah.
when you're talking about kind of like building a financial system that's inclusive of everybody, like you can visualize these people then because you like grew up
Oh,
with them. You know like how they live.
exactly. And since then, a lot has happened. You've seen currencies lose value or devalued for some reasons, like in Turkey, or even here in the States, we've been living in with inflation, a hidden tax for a long time. And then you see the attack on something that we've created. Like, hey, okay, this is our, you know, it's crypto. We love it. Why are you even attacking us there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I definitely see all that. And honestly, it seems that there's always a struggle between us humans trying to be free, and someone is trying to kind of force us into kind of strict templates so they can manage us better, because it's just easier to manage masses that way.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of that lately in the United States. I forget, you're in Texas?
Austin,
Austin, yeah,
Texas, yes.
yeah. So I mean, I'm like, Texas is supposed to be one of those like more like libertarian states, right? Like they don't like big government in theory. So I'm in like the exact opposite climate. I'm in Washington State, where it's kind of like, I, I mean, I could talk probably endlessly about like the kind of crazy political situation, but like I don't pay much attention to politics, right? Like um, around the time around the time Trump became president, I was just like, I did not find him to be an interesting or compelling character, so like I stopped paying attention to politics. But then I realized, especially during like the COVID shutdowns, that just because I don't care about politics, politics still cares about me, and is still going to be trying to like force all this stuff on me. And I'm just like, I just want to trade Pepe. Like I don't care about all this like political BS. But like I assume that's because I'm in a blue state. But you're in like a very very red state. Is it like, are you still feeling this kind of like same like authority or like oppression, I guess?
To be honest, it's very difficult for me to, for two reasons. Well, I'm a resident. I'm not basically I'm not a citizen. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up here, so I still, there's always the kind of
The
like
culture.
dichotomy between me and the culture.
Yeah.
That's number one. And also, I live in a very blue city, in a red state,
Right. The pro.
and extreme. It's great. I feel like it has everything here. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I alienate myself from all this bullshit. So I don't watch news. I don't care, to be honest.
Same.
And yes, very much like you, exactly like you.
Well,
I was like, hey, I don't care.
the news is so useless. Like if you if so I look at it like as a tool, right? Like you want a tool that makes your life better. So if I pay attention to DeFi news, at least I might like learn about some protocol I can ape into, and maybe I'll make $1 million. If I watch the nightly news, I get nothing. I like it just has no utility to my life. It's talking about things that I do not affect me in the slightest. So but
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm preaching to the choir here, I
Yeah,
guess. When did you?
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, go ahead,
oh,
Tanzan.
I was just gonna say that the whole governance aspect of DeFi and those types of things was also something that drew me in. And much like Aham, I also grew up in a third world kind of socialist country. I'm from Bolivia,
Mm-hmm.
um, where my family worked a lot with banks and stuff like that, and you just saw basically how from literally in the span of maybe 2 weeks, my family lost everything. Yeah, and it was they just nationalized it, right? So they said, actually, this now belongs to the government because you've gotten big enough that now this is ours. Um, so from that perspective, I've always actually loved the U.S. I think like I like having these two sides that just constantly bash at each other and do nothing because I think that the less government, the better, in my opinion.
And it really is the only way to get
Yeah.
less government, isn't it? Like the fact that they can't agree on anything and they're fighting these existential battles. Like we occasionally get trampled on, but mostly they don't have the ability to do much to us. Uh, so I'm coming to appreciate that more and more. So both of you, like, were not from the United States, and now you're here in the United States. When I look at how bad things are getting here, I look at like the fact that no, people still are trying to come here, like you don't see that big of an outflow. So like now that you're both here, how many years have you both been here? Um, like, are you feeling like this is still the place to be?
Not for me, no.
No.
I'm actually very close to leave. No,
Oh,
not
really?
really. It's just too much. Yeah, yeah. I feel like being also in crypto doesn't help
Right.
to be in the
And
States.
you're
Number
doxxed
one,
too.
number two, totally, 100%. They'll come after me, although I'm just one of a normie in that community. But they might. You'll never know, right? But it's really not that the reason. The reason is, I mean, we're doing everything legal and all. But the reason is
Doesn't
kind
matter
of
if
I
you're
see a
doing
lot of
everything legal.
conflict here.
Even if you're doing everything
That,
legal, they'll
that's
still come after you.
that's right. It's a kind of a lot of conflict that I see here. I see a
Mhm.
lot of anger here
Right.
in the States, and I can feel like in some societies where probably like where income disparity is kind of like less of an issue,
Hmm.
might be you might have a kind of more of a social security is higher.
Hmm.
And people tend to kind of enjoy life more because I feel like sad here that we are in the States, we work longer hours, we get fewer vacation days,
Our
and
healthcare
and we're
system is
still
awful.
not enough. Awful. It just you will immediately come kind of you'll realize that when you get sick, and then on top of everything, and then you've got kind of like some potential violence, pockets of it, and lots of so that kind of uh, it's gonna draw me away from that. It's been 7 years here, so
Hmm.
it will be a big move for me because I really love the country. I love the people of the country. It's Americans are extremely welcoming and humble. Actually, very humble people and hardworking and all. So it would be would be sad, basically. Yeah,
Where are you looking to move to?
I don't know. Maybe I'll go to Bolivia.
Bolivia.
Yeah, if Tencent will have me there, like he's. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you in. I'll have someone accommodate you.
where where
No,
No,
yeah.
no, no, not really, but we'll see.
where are you in Tencent? Are you also in Austin?
No, I'm up in the Northeast. I'm like right next to New York. But
Boston?
yeah, I moved up here like
Stanford?
what?
Boston? Stanford? Like
Uh,
how close?
no, I'm up in Connecticut, like
Connecticut, yeah.
Northeast. Yeah. But yeah, no, I kind of disagree just on some slight things, just because I love the U.S., but it's really obviously because of the people, and I agree with that. But for me, ownership rights are the best that they can be in the U.S., and that's been really really important to me,
Hmm.
and that comes from my family really. So yeah, I mean that's the U.S. cares about personal freedoms in a way that I don't really see anywhere else. Even though we have some kind of Freudian or not Freudian, Orwellian scenarios kind of playing out. I mean, I still think the U.S. is a phenomenal place and it protects people.
Hmm. Is El
I mean,
Salvador?
yeah, it's
Oh, go
Earth.
ahead.
It's Earth anywhere you go. It's
It
just
is. I mean, because
yeah,
I go
yeah,
through this often. I've been considering moving myself, and I don't think it's going to work out just because I do have family here. And like when you have family, it can be tough to,
yes,
yeah, it can be tough to
that's
go.
true.
But like I think pretty often about it. Like I took a trip to Argentina last year. It was my first time in South America. I'd been to Costa Rica before, but I hadn't been like in South America proper. And of course, Argentina has a bunch of problems too. But it was so it was like you were talking about like some of the problems, Aham, that you're seeing in like the US in terms of like violence and like there's like a lot of like urban decay also in America, and you didn't see that. At least I didn't see that in Buenos Aires. Like parts of it, I'm sure. Like if you get far enough south of the city, but there's like the city by and large, like it was like pleasant and there was nice shopping and people looked like they were happy and they weren't, they were walking around a lot, so they weren't obese. And it's just like the more I travel overseas, particularly to third world countries, the more I realize that like what Balaji says is right. Like America really is like declining on some levels, and I think it could reverse it, but it's just not really making them move to
Right.
reverse it lately.
Man, you literally named the one place that's the one place I would probably consider moving to. I love Buenos Aires. I've gone there multiple times in my life. And Yeah, you're very much right that in the center parts of the city, like it is actually very safe. But like I have a friend that lives, he's very, very poor. He lives with like six people in like a 1 2 bedroom apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went over to his side, I actually tried to go to an ATM, and I saw like a homeless person sleeping next to it, right? And then I was just kind of passing by, and then I noticed like his eyes were open and he had a knife underneath like his chest,
Oh
right?
shit.
And then I just skipped right through that, right? So yeah, you have like
So
polar opposites
it's got the
in
bad
certain
parts too.
places, and
It's got the bad parts.
yeah,
Well,
Yeah, totally.
the funny thing about Argentina is like the best thing you can do is be earning an income in dollars and be in their hyperinflated country. So it's a little bit selfish. One of the reasons I want to move there, but like you could do
you,
pretty good.
that's actually super interesting you bring that up because all of my buddies there, what they actually do, and this is they don't know about crypto or DeFi any of that stuff, but they take their pesos and they sell them for USDT or USDC, and they hold them in their crypto accounts. So it's awesome that it has a real big impact for them in Argentina. Their savings would have been devalued immensely if they didn't have that ability.
Yeah, like Turkey, the lira, but yeah, I have got a few Argentinian friends, Argentines basically, that will disagree with you on that little bit right now because of the currency and the stuff like that's happening
Mm.
there. But yeah, no, I think definitely on the food thing, I remember like I eat a lot now, but I when I went to Barcelona last May, I kind of ordered a lot, and I looked around and everyone has like a small plate, and because I've been, we eat a lot here in the States, we
Yeah.
serve us a lot, and
Especially in
I was
Texas.
like,
Oh my gosh, last time I visited Texas,
oh,
even Austin, which is like the hippie
yeah, yeah,
area,
same
just
thing.
just giant plates. But it works for me because I'm kind of big.
Yeah, when are you going to visit? We need to have you
Oh,
in Austin,
I would
get
like
you
to come
some
back to Austin.
barbecue and beer.
I visited for a few days last year. There was a event, and I was helping with a Viper hackathon there. But yeah, it's been. I'll go to Austin anytime. I like Austin a lot. When's South by Southwest? Is that
Really?
happening now?
Yeah, it happened already.
Already happened.
I think it was in April.
April.
Yeah, yeah, April.
I'm sure something will bring me down. Consensus is also just happened, right? And that was there.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah, we
yeah,
were all there.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I think Aham. I think you messaged me about it, and you were like, "Are you coming down?" And I was like, "Oh, I wish I could. I wish I could." But
Good.
I'm traveling to Europe later in June and July.
Really?
So
Where are you going?
I'll be in Paris for ETHCC, and there's a couple of other side events in other spots that I applied to speak at. So I will probably go to them if I get the speaking slot through.
Nice.
So there's one in Hamburg in I think that's in June, late June, and then there's ETH Barcelona.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. And I might be there, so I'll probably see you.
Oh, excellent,
Yeah, I'm
excellent.
traveling soon.
I was
Yeah.
talking with Thomas about doing another live llama party for the ECC one probably. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Oh man, a lot of fun, absolutely. Because that one, but we can even make it bigger. I think would be super nice. But I really love that this like people around and getting
Yeah. So
right. Yeah.
one things I'm gonna do, and if I do another like live llama party, is I tried so hard to get it hooked up where people could ask questions on the Discord, and that just did not work out. Right. That was a complete failure because first of all, it made it like impossible for the video team because Thomas had basically like got like super good video person with all this professional equipment to set it all up, and I was like, okay, now stop all that and instead run this through Discord so we can have people chat live because nobody even bothered to do that. No one bothered talking through Discord. So, like I try and like I really like the idea in this like virtual like this where like Tencent can pop in or if any of the other guests can like just pop in and ask some questions. It's kind of fun, but that just we can't do that for the real life one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a bit. I remember like it was just a laptop, kind of like sitting by the
Yes,
couch, and
and it
it
was
was
like
it was a makeshift studio. It was nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was pretty good for what it was. So, your Twitter bio has you as it listed as a cyclist.
was actually. Yeah, I
Was
haven't been on the bicycle for a long time. I mean, for a few months, really.
just
Well, thanks to Silo
too much work.
and yeah, too much work. I mean, you need to. I mean, Tencent is not trying to kind of delegate to the rest of the stuff, and he's like, now he has 6 computers. He has no excuse now.
When you were a cyclist, like what?
Six screens.
When you were a cyclist, was that more like mountain biking? Was that more like road biking?
And yeah, I'm joking. I'm still a cyclist, but I don't go that often. No, road bike. Road bike. Yes,
Nice.
yes. You've got a good uh, cycling community or culture in DC. You're in DC, right? You said, or in
Oh no,
Washington,
Washington State.
Washington State, Washington. Also there. I mean,
Oh,
in Seattle specifically, there's
it,
actually a big one. Yeah.
it's gorgeous. Some of the bike paths they have here, and it's one of my favorite. Just if you can so easily unplug and just go for like a 2 hour bike ride, and I'm close enough to Lake Washington, which is just I can bike halfway around that, and that's choose up 2 hours with some of the best scenery. The only problem
I used
is
to live up there.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. The only problem is it's we get the wild weather. So it's like about a week ago was the first time we saw sunshine in 6 months. So I was like all excited. I got my bike out, did a bike ride, and then it's back to rain again. So it's like you really have to time these things to actually enjoy it. So it's great when it happens, but it's a lot of indoor cycling in the winters.
Yeah, man. I can't do that weather honestly, or that climate. It's just too much for me. It's too depressing. I need to see the sun at least once a week, at
I
least.
I try and
Like,
travel for a significant amount of time in the winter. The past 3 winters, I've taken at least a month traveling somewhere. It helps a lot.
right.
Excellent. We're coming up
Yeah.
on like 2 hours here. Is there anything that I should have asked
Yeah.
you that I haven't asked you?
No, I mean, I think conversation covered almost all the stuff that kind of I like to like. We had some fun and all. That's good.
Yeah.
Nothing comes to mind.
Couple of quick
Convex lending markets. Sorry.
convex lending
No.
markets. A lot of people are asking about the convex lending markets. What can you say about those?
Oh man, yeah, soon,
Soon?
hopefully. Uh, we'll just yes, the first thing we'll have is staked ETH LP token.
Mm-hmm.
It's you bring your Curve LP token, you deposit it in the lending market. You can borrow ETH and leverage, and passively you can still claim all the rewards in Convex
Mm-hmm.
passively. So just as if you're basically staking in Curve. We're done with the audit. We're now testing on in a local environment, fork ETH basically. But we've got some delays. Some engineers have an engineer traveling, changing countries, and we have another one had some issues, just like health issues, like
Mm-hmm.
for a few days. So it kind of delayed us a bit. But we'll yeah, soon.
Soon. Okay.
Aiham, we got a question here too. What a great. It says any plans for BAL or LPs?
Oh, I've spoken to Mackie. I told him like, hey man, it's just yeah. I and the rest of the team, the Aura team, I would love that to be honest. I think hopefully V2, yeah, yeah. The honestly the problem is that just digging into those implementations, it can be very difficult. I can tell you, like we spent 2 months just researching the curve code because it's just very complex. hopefully a balancer is it's probably more kind of simplified, but I don't know, but we'll see. But definitely it is one of the biggest. I'm excited actually for Aura forking soon on Arbitrum.
OXKai goes on to add that rETH, WSTETH, and sfrax ETH would also be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think our ETH can be done. Staked ETH or the we'll have to, because each pool can be different in Curve, so we'll have to dig into that. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Probably, I'm sure probably he meant Aura, right? The three asset pools. But anyway,
Yeah.
Balancer
Yeah.
pool.
yeah. Okay, got it. Oh, yeah, that would be definitely interesting, but we'll see. But those the problem is always like, how do you read the price and stuff like that? How do you price the LP tokens? So we'll have to be custom implementation.
I feel like anyone listening should be furiously working on like a universal Oracle solution. It sounds like that's going to be in demand. A couple of lightning round questions for you. I've been taken to asking these on at the end of Llama Party, so you don't need to go into any depth on these. But yes or no, do we live in a simulation?
No,
No. You're in the minority on
I
that.
was going to say I don't know.
Most people say yes. I'm pretty firmly in the no camp myself, but who knows? What about artificial superintelligence? Are we going to find that artificial superintelligence eradicates humanity in some way, shape, or form?
I think humans will employ that for yes.
So humans will use
Yeah.
the artificial intelligence to destroy humanity.
Destroy Earth. I
Destroy
think
Earth.
the way we are today, I don't see Earth being around in a 1,000 years.
The Earth
Yeah.
itself. Okay. Wow.
Earth itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, but it's not AI that pulls the trigger. It's humans that pull the trigger.
It's the reason why we've had thousands of years of fighting and killing and we basically reproducing the same dynamics. Like we always elect the worst in humanity, like
We
to
do.
be our readers.
And yet,
Yeah.
we still keep surviving. And it takes a lot. It's going to take a lot to destroy Earth itself. Like I could see wiping out human life on Earth, but the actual planet itself, you think we're going to
Oh no, I meant life.
life
No, I
itself,
didn't mean like the yeah,
like a
no, yeah.
geological
I didn't
extinction,
mean
like
the
the
planet
dinosaurs?
itself.
Okay,
Yes, like the dinosaurs. Yeah.
yeah, that one seems pretty plausible. I mean, there's so many things floating around that can kill us. I saw Tencent unmuted for a second. I think Tencent was gonna weigh in, maybe challenge one of those.
Oh man, no, I was literally just I was gonna do a dumb reference, but the Metal Gear Solid, like the end of the very it's one of the first games. It's just like you have to have seen it, but it's like a 15-minute conversation that he has because Metal Gear Solid is literally about like an AI taking over, and like this guy trying to stop him, but the AI, he was actually doing exactly what the AI wanted, type of thing, but. It's just very insightful, like the things that they talk about in there about like what is currently happening in the world.
And they figured it out 15 years ago.
Yeah. I think it might have been in the 90s actually, the first Metal Gear Solid. I don't remember, but yeah, no. If someone ever sees that, I think it's a very introspective thing to watch. So.
All right. Aiham, any final parting words of wisdom?
Oof. Well, man. I'm really personally excited about our community in general. Really, the DeFi ones. I think uh, I don't know. It's just very difficult to part that way. But anyway, I'm personally happy that I joined the call today. Really, I met you briefly in that event, and I one of the things that I love about DeFi, I've made great friends in that space that probably met maybe for minutes, and I felt like they've become friends. And this community has a lot of great people, and I think way more than building is great, but I feel like I get more from actually building friendships and net and in the space. I feel like we can be a little bit more generous with each other. I mean, I saw yesterday this conversation unfolding about Curve Pool, the Curve USD, and people in Frax Telegram as well responding and all. And I felt like, well, we could just be more nicer with each other, like just give feedback, like, hey, something like this, and just make it nice, because this community really can't grow if it's not a zero-sum game. Everyone needs to understand this. Actually, the success of a DeFi project actually honestly impacts everyone positively. Like, yeah. So I think it's just be more positive and generous with each other, and would be just better, I feel.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you so much, Aiham, for joining us. You're welcome to come back and join anytime you like. This is May 5th.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. We'll see you all next week.
You too. See you.